Hello and welcome to this Deloitte Budget 2015 videocast. I'm Sally Jones and I'm joined today by John Cullinane, one of our senior tax partners. John, thank you for your time.
Hello, Sally.
So let's start with personal tax measures. What was announced?
Well, the key headline figure was the announcement of a personal allowance increase, but of course only from the second and then a further increase in the third year of the next Parliament. And that's part of a pattern whereby this is a tax raising budget in the first year, but it's going to cost the government money in a few years' time.
Interesting that it would be tax raising now before a general election.
Well, I think that's partly because one of the big giveaways that we've just talked about only comes in with time, and there are one or two other features a little like that.
So that was personal tax measures and the personal tax allowance increase. How about banks? I hear it was a bad day for banks.
Yeah, a pretty costly day for banks, I would say. They may benefit actually from not having to operate withholding tax on people's savings, so that's kind of worth talking about. But of all the fundraising measures, they came up with by far the lion's share. So over 4 billion over a 5-year period on the extra bank levy, which has always been falling short of a target take that the Chancellor's had. But I think this ought to get it there, in spades. And also a new measure to deny them a deduction for the cost of settling mis-selling claims. I mean, obviously they pay tax on the profits of their mis-selling, but won't now get a deduction for meeting the costs. And that's on top of what was announced in the autumn statement of a reduced ability to offset their brought forward losses. So, taking all those three things together, you're talking about something like 9 billion over, over the whole 5 years. So they're pretty much the big payers of this budget.
So when the Chancellor said that many billions were going to be raised through tackling tax avoidance and evasion and aggressive planning, was that what he meant?
Well, that's probably between a half and 2/3 of what appears in that category in the Red Book. Interestingly, if you look at the speech, the first measure that's mentioned under tax avoidance is reducing the lifetime allowance for pensions from 1.25 million to 1 million. Now, obviously, that affects only those with the 4% biggest pension pots, but nevertheless, it's a little odd to be describing that as tax avoidance.
It doesn't feel like tax avoidance to me. And the Chancellor also announced the end of the tax return. Will you miss it?
I won't personally miss it. And I suppose the big question here is, to what extent will there be the same compliance burden brought about another way? Because people will have to go online to look at their accounts, and obviously whatever information the government won't be getting from employers, from banks, from pension providers and so on, they will still need to get from the individual. And in some cases the individual may want to actually check the government's calculations rather than just take it for granted that they've got it all right. But I guess at the very least there will probably be an ability to kind of spread this burden throughout the year. So I think that may prove a popular measure, even if a little exaggerated in the headline.
John Cullinane, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Sally.
And thank you to you for watching. Goodbye.